and welcome back to our Sunday gathering. Before we start, please reach out to your tens and invite them to join us, and be sure to turn your cameras on so we will be able to see your smiling faces. Now, without any further wasting of time, our opening intention. John?
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, friends. Opening intention, Ravash, Article 30. What to look for in the assembly of friends. Each one should try to bring into the society a spirit of life and hopefulness, and infuse energy into the society. Thus, each of the friends will be able to tell himself, now I'm starting to a clean slate in the work. In other words, before he came to the society, he was disappointed with the progress in the work of the Creator. But now the society has filled him with life and hopefulness. Lahan, friends. Thank you, Richard. Go ahead.
Thanks, John. Now for our special guest, and we have not seen him since he was named the head of the English department. Thrilled to introduce you. Asaf?
Hello, friends. Yes, good to be here. Good to see everybody. All right, great. This is recorded, right? For anyone who can't be here now. Okay, awesome. So let's start. First of all, I want to say thank you. I was really happy that Irina and the Arvut team invited me. Because yes, I recently stepped in as head of English department, and it happened so fast in the middle of things. We went straight to a Kabir retreat, and then straight after that, pretty much right after, we had the Congress, and we barely had a moment. So now it's finally a good time. It's a perfect time to give you all a proper update. I'll go through a few things. I can share my screen, right? Okay, I'll share it. I'm sending a request. I don't know who got the request, but someone should approve it. So tell me when multiple presenters can share. Okay, I think
Go ahead,
that's my cue.
I forgot to unmute mine.
That's okay. All right, so I'll share my screen in a second. First, yes, this is finally a good timing, and yeah, so recently I stepped in as head of English department. As head of English department, my role is essentially to direct and oversee all of Bnei Baruch's activities in English. Essentially, it means making sure that what we do is in line with the goals of our management. We have a spiritual management, as you all know, made up of 6 friends, loyal, dedicated, veteran friends who were appointed by Rav to oversee and direct the activities of all of Bnei Baruch globally. And we're responsible for making sure that that this happens in English. This includes everything. I want to emphasize that because sometimes we think of dissemination activities and social activities as different things. Obviously, they're all part of the same goal. Our goal in life, which is being a Kabbalist, is comprised of connecting with our friends and sharing that light to the world. And our goal as an organization is also made up of these 2 things: connection and sharing that connection. So, excuse me. So if we look at, and let me share my screen, 1 second. Okay, you should be able to see it now. Can you see my screen? Okay, so this little diagram is an attempt to capture everything that we're doing in the English department. If we try to do that, it comes down to 3 circles or areas of activities. One is making Kabbalah, the authentic wisdom of Kabbalah, more and more accessible to the world. That's one of our areas of activities. So here we do things like dissemination on social media. We maintain and renew our websites. We develop new products like a mobile app that I'll discuss a bit later on to try to reach more and more new people. The mindset of this circle of activity is to innovate, to constantly try to reduce the barrier to entry to the wisdom of Kabbalah. The second circle is essentially teaching the authentic wisdom to anyone who has an interest. If someone already has a desire, we want them to find us, and we want to help them get into the wisdom and teach them the wisdom, teach them the fundamentals of the wisdom first, and then all the way until they can practice the wisdom of Kabbalah on a regular basis like we do. And this is mostly, in terms of actual projects, this is mostly happening through our KABU system, which is our education center for all the English speakers who are interested in studying Kabbalah. And the goal here really, in terms of, if you look at all these three circles and try to really understand what is the goal of this circle of activity, it's to create a kind of a bridge. So from the first contact that a person had with the wisdom of Kabbalah to all the way to being part of our community. All of that can be included in this circle that we titled here, Teaching Kabbalah. And then the third circle is nurturing a community of Kabbalah students. And in this respect, there's all the activities that we all do on a regular basis, from joining the daily lessons to setting up events, our congresses, the great work that is done by the Arvut Team, things like the local communities project. Even this meeting is part of something we do to nurture our community. The challenge that we have in this circle specifically is that we want to give every student their best environment, and we have multiple levels of students and different levels of commitment. Some people joined us just recently, some people are here for a while, some people are very active and are themselves responsible for nurturing the community, but we all need to be nurtured, we all need to be treated. It doesn't matter how long we are on the path, we need to feel the environment, be connected to the environment, and essentially the goal here is to give every student, at whatever level they are, their best environment for spiritual progress. Now, I want to ask you a question. Let's call it a silent workshop. Okay, let's take 20 seconds and let's do a silent workshop. You can say the answer in your hearts, but keep it there. So the question is, what circle is most important? What circle of activity from all those three is the most important one? Let's take a few seconds and think about it. When you have an answer, raise your hand. Don't actually say the answer, just raise your hand. Okay. Sasha is still thinking. He's thinking hard. Dave got it. John got it. Okay. The answer is they're all equally important. And why are they all equally important? Because they're all interdependent. Because look, if we are not working to make Kabbalah more and more accessible to people, then we are not continuing the same thing that Baal Sulam did, spent all his life for that, and what Rabash did for Rav, and what Rav did for us. So we have to be a conduit and continue this wisdom, passing on this wisdom as much as we can to new people. The second circle, or let's go to the third circle, which is us. Essentially, without advancing our community, we'll have nothing to disseminate, we'll have nothing to share. Without connection between us, there is no power in our actions. We're not here to disseminate words and websites and mobile apps. We're here to disseminate what we have in our hearts, and the rest is just tools, devices to do that. And without the second circle, we will not have a bridge. There will always be a disconnect between the outside world and our community. So we need and there won't be any new blood that comes into our community. So all of these three circles, if you ask me, they're like a single partzuf. They're like a complete system. Even though it seems at times that we are working on very different things and possibly even thinking in different directions. Because when you think of a project that goes out to new people who have never heard about Kabbalah before, your mindset is very different than if you're thinking about how do we set up a Congress to strengthen our community as much as we can and bring everyone to a prayer for connection, right? So it's a very different mindset, but it's all the same family. It's the same one conduit that we're trying to build out of ourselves. All right. So I want to share with you just some of the important updates about things that are happening now, that are happening in this quarter. Typically, we divide the year to 4 quarters. This is Q4. So until the end of the year, we're trying to kind of divide our activity that way so we can measure results and try to be as productive as we can. So here are some of the things that are happening now. So you can still see my screen, right? Even though I moved through tabs? Yeah, okay, I did the right share. Good. So the first thing I want to share with you is a vision that was put forward by the upper management, by the spiritual management of Bnei Baruch, and that is creating a global student community. Essentially what that means is this, and you've heard about it from the management in the recent Congress a little bit, so I'll probably be saying a very similar thing or in very similar words. Essentially, we want to create a global community. That means that we already have a global community, of course, but it happens typically later in the process of a person's development in Bnei Baruch. The idea here is to connect all of the students that are coming into Bnei Baruch from the various languages. They could come from Kabyu in the English language. They can come from Mak in the Russian language. They can come from Italy. They can come from Turkey. They can come from different places. And we want to establish their connection to the global community. So everyone can be nourished by not just the power of their 10 or the people in their language, but the people in the world Kli. Part of this is also connecting everyone to the center, to the headquarters in Israel, connecting them to the teachers in Israel, to our prime teachers in Israel. Down the road, we're also looking at creating one database, one CRM, if that tells something to someone. Maybe even one kind of study program, one curriculum, of course, with specifics per language. But that's further down the road. The immediate step that we're working on right now is connecting our students in every language to one global lesson given by Aviv and Mushi. Maybe Chaim will also say a few words about this later on. But this is a lesson that now we just recently received confirmation that it will stay in a time that is more or less good for the entire world. Of course, it's almost impossible to find such a time. But until further notice, this will happen on Sundays at 4 p.m. Israel time, which is not bad. Not bad for North America. Of course, for the West Coast, it's still a bit early, but for the Central Time and Eastern Time, it works better. And of course, the whole world here is taken into account. It has to be good for everyone all over the world. So this is what we came up with so far. Avi and Mushi will be giving these lessons. They already are giving it. And they're teaching, they go really in depth into the articles of Bala Sulam. And the idea, again, is to do this as a global session for all our students. Doesn't matter from what language they come from. All of this happens in addition and not instead of the treatment and the education that students are receiving in their language. Now, in parallel to that, there's another thing that's going on, And that is, it's in parallel, but it's in relation to it. We are forming a sort of a board or a management team that includes both representatives from COBU and from the English CLE, the management of the English CLE. And the goal here is to create a seamless experience. If you look at the last few years, then we've put focus on developing and strengthening the Arvut team and how it works with mostly the North American CLE. And we've also put a lot of efforts in developing and strengthening COBU. And these systems worked more or less in parallel for the last few years. And now it's really a time to start looking at this as one thing. Our goal here is to create a seamless experience. In practical terms, what this means is, before we get confused, and if you're working in the Arvut team, you stay there. If you're working in COBU, you stay there. Everything stays the same. But what it means is essentially that myself, Gili, Chaim, and Zohar, we will be working together to really look at the entire program, the entire course, the route, let's say, that a student who met us and went through the fundamentals, now they go into BB in one way or another. And from that point until we meet them here even, and in our congresses and in the daily lessons, there's an entire program here, and there's many different details, and we want to create a very seamless experience so that it's clear to students how they're progressing, it's clear how they get into the community, how they progress with their TENS, who's helping them at what stage of their development. So everything is already there, the systems are there, but we're working on connecting them to create a more seamless experience. So these are some of the things that are happening with regards to the global students community. Next, we are working on a new Kabbalah.info website. Let me remind you, this is how our old site looks like. This, funny enough, almost 20 years ago, 15 years ago maybe, something in between, Marcus, myself, and a few others were working on this. And this was quite new at the time. But the problem with this website is that today it doesn't just look old. It's not just a matter of design and look and feel. It's not mobile friendly. It was built on an old technology that was new at the time, pretty much before mobile phones were a thing even. And we have to update it because it's not mobile friendly. We are losing a lot of traffic. It's not just that people have a hard time using it on mobile. We've just lost visibility in search results. And because of that, we had to build everything from the ground up. And this is quite a complicated project. Today, if anyone knows AI tools, you can build a website in 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. But this is not the same. This project has to be interfacing with our existing systems. It has to be connected to our servers. It has to be ready for a lot of other languages to copy. There was also a branding scrutiny involved here. The technology has to be built from the ground up. And this is where we're going. This is kind of a mock-up of the new homepage of the site. Of course, this is also not completely final, but it's on the way there. And this is built for today's reality. There's a lot of technicalities involved in this project. I'll give you just one example. For instance, this is a mock-up of the new library that we will have on the new Kabbalah.info, which will, by the way, be called Kabbalah Wisdom, because Kabbalah Info is not a name, it's just a URL, and we never actually had a name for the site. So this has been solved as well. And just to give you a taste of what's included. So if, for instance, in Kabbalah Library, There's 3,000 pages of sources and books and text material that we have to recreate. And even with AI, this still takes a lot of effort and time, and it has to be done in a very meticulous way. So this is happening, and we're hoping to launch this site by the end of the year, early 2026. This should be out there, and you can all share it with anyone you think is interested. I got a little annotation here that I didn't do. So I think someone doodled on my screen. If you can delete it, let me see if I can go. Maybe like this, eraser. There we go. Okay. So this is the new website that is coming. And next is the Seekers app. This is a new mobile app that belongs to the third circle, or the first circle, however you want to call it, of making Kabbalah more accessible. Now, I'm going to attempt to show you the app and how it works. For this, I just need to make a connection here quickly between my phone and my computer. Okay, so it's working, and I'll show it in just a second. First, I'll just give a little bit of the background. I spoke about the background of this on multiple occasions, so I won't be long about this. But if you don't know, we are building a mobile app that is for spiritual seekers, for meaning of life seekers. What that means, this is a big thing, because for us, we hear, okay, meaning of life, wisdom of Kabbalah. But apparently, for millions and millions of people in the world, estimations talk about 70 million people in the English-speaking world, most of them are in the US, they don't have a direct interest in Kabbalah. They do have a direct interest in exploring the meaning of life. That means that we have huge potential here. There are millions of seekers. Of course, there's a lot of other options for them, so there's also a competition involved here. But we did a survey with a thousand of them in the US, where we actually gave them content, our audio content, to listen to, and it was very successful. And that's when we decided to go for it and build the app. And we're very close. We're very close to launching the app. And I'm going to demonstrate to you live now and tell you a little bit about it. If you were in the Kabyu retreat, you've seen it. It's the only place it was actually presented so far. So this is very new, and you're getting a sneak peek here. So here is the home feed of this app. And essentially, I don't know if you can watch it so well. Can you hear it well? Can you see it well? I think it's a bit iffy, right? Let me try to reconnect it. If that's what we get, we'll work with that. Let's give it one more shot. One sec. In the meantime, let's hear from Mary. Why is it important for us to have such an app, in your opinion? Yes, I know you've prepared for this a lot before.
Which Mary? I
Tell
don't know
us.
if Mary's here. I can go ahead and answer. Today, most people are very attached to their phones. They use their phones to access most information versus being on a computer, and they can access it anywhere, everywhere they go. So the outreach is much broader.
Okay. Okay, the connection is a bit iffy, but just imagine it looks more beautiful. Thank you, Mary, for stalling, but it still not works. It still doesn't work perfectly, but you can get the idea. So if you can at least see what's going on here, even if it's a bit blurry, essentially this is the home feed of the app. All of the content, as I said before, it's audio centered. At least that's how we're starting with the app. And all of the content is organized in maps, we call them. Maps are like stages, stage 1, stage 2, etc. This allows us to take the user through a process to gradually teach them the fundamentals of Kabbalah, but in a very, very distilled, simplified manner. There's two kinds of audio content in this app. One is called the daily dose, and one is called the wisdom dose. We call them audio doses. And they're all very, very short. So the wisdom doses, these are 3 to 8 minute audio doses. And what they do is essentially a gradual teaching of the fundamentals of the wisdom of Kabbalah. So for example, if I tap on this wisdom dose 1,
imagine your family is gathered around a newborn baby. You watch as the baby, wide-eyed with wonder, discovers its new world. Suddenly, you cover your...
I'll stop it here, but what you're hearing is the beautiful voice of Andrew Martin, our friend who wrote together with the entire content team this audio dose. They always start with something very easy to kind of grab hold of, like a depiction, some sort of a visual to put into the person's mind. And then this goes on for a few minutes.
Is your own, hopefully,
at the end,
for growth.
This is like a mini lesson. It's not going to be longer than 8 minutes. Most of the time, it's about 5.
Life through
and
bring us
when
to
that
our
ends,
maximum.
when that ends, the user receives a kind of a summary of the key points, and they have unlocked the next wisdom dose. That's how it works. And the other kind of doses is a daily dose. A daily dose is something else. So we tried to make this as practical for people as possible. The idea of a daily dose is 90 seconds or so that take a principle that they've heard about from the wisdom dose and give them a simple contemplative exercise, a thought exercise that they can practice the whole day. And the idea is that after you take a daily dose, the app changes mode. I'll try to show this to you.
Smallest step.
So let's say I listen to this dose.
What's hidden?
The dose is done. And now, I already did this one. So I got to choose another one for this to work. Let's try this one. Okay. So this is another daily dose. Once it finishes,
to discover.
Okay. So now it gives me some sort of an exercise. When I'm ready, I tap, I'm ready for my inner work, and then the app goes into active daily dose mode. This means that for the next 24 hours, the app is going to give me a few reminders based on how much I want. And throughout the day, there will be creative reminders that remind me of the thought that I'm trying to hold on to, the feeling that I'm trying to hold on to throughout the day. You know, every time when I think about it, I always think that this will be good for us too. But essentially, that's the idea here. And this is active daily dose mode. Other than that, there's also a place for the user to track their journey. They can see what maps or what stages they already completed, where they're on right now, and get a teaser of what's in the next map for them. They can also revisit any dose that they liked before. They can mark it as a favorite. And when the user finishes a dose, I want to show you, when the user completes a dose, they can share their impressions with the community. So if I hit share here, there's a little thing here that allows me to choose a feeling that fits my state. And I can also add some words, and then I can share it, post it and share it with the community. And here is the community tab. I hope you can see it well, because again, the quality of the transmission is not working great today. But essentially, all these bubbles, That's because we wanted to move away from anything that feels like typical social media. We don't want people to just spend time talking back to each other. This is not a place for arguing or discussing things in some sort of an adversarial way. The idea here is to create a non-synchronous ongoing workshop. So people are only adding. Of course, there's also community guidelines that they have to agree to in the beginning. And then this sort of wall of bubbles becomes a workshop that I can always contribute to and receive inspiration from. That is essentially the basic state of the app that we're starting with. And we are really, really hoping to launch in early 2026. Of course, the next big challenge is the launching phase, the marketing phase. But we have good reasons to believe that it's going to work. And also, it's going to be good for any of our new students, of our very new students in KABU. Even if it's going to be hard to reach new audiences who are not our students yet, it's going to be a perfect companion for anyone in starting their journey in KABU. So this Seekers app needs your prayers and thoughts. Next, let's talk about events in 2026. So two events, at least it seems like, are coming up. One is the KABU retreat. I do not have yet the final time and place. That's what we're working on now, but I can hint that it's probably looking like we're gonna be in Europe this year. Probably somewhere around June, end of May, something like that. Still, what I'm telling you now is not fully cooked. That's exactly what we're working on in this quarter. By the end of this quarter, we hope to have a final time and date locked for the KABU retreat. And of course, in October, we already have the time, the date, October 29 through 31st. That's going to be the regional Congress. So similar to the one we had in May 2025, we're going to have one in October 2026 in North America. And right now, we are beginning to work on the location. We know that there are let's say, mixed reviews on the last place. It had its advantages, it had its disadvantages, some challenges. Of course, now after the fact, we know that there's no one else besides him, and it was the best possible thing that could ever happen to us. But now we want to do even better. So we're going to look into it as soon as we have some real options. Of course, we're going to work together with the Arvut team. We have our dear Zohar, who already started to research this area. And as soon as we have some real options on the table, we will let you know. And probably last thing, or second to last thing I want to talk about is this new book. If you've paid attention to the announcements at the end of the lessons in the last Congress we had, there was one special announcement about this special book. This is a new book on Bala Sulam. It's not a long book, but it's one that includes details about his life that we didn't know before. Our friend Michael Burstein did a lot of work together with more friends to dig into archives and look into all kinds of things that for us should be really interesting for anyone who studies Kabbalah, who studies the method of Bala Sulam. So this book exists in Russian and in Hebrew, and I'm happy to say that we have started to work on it in English. This is thanks to Mark Berelakis, who is going to be the chief translator. Of course, he'll get some support and oversight from Chaim, who, in addition to his social roles, he never ceased to be our chief editor for all our books. So they're going to be working on that, L'chaim to Mark and anyone who's going to be helping him. Hopefully, we will have that done also in early 2026. And last thing I want to talk about is how you can help. There are many ways you can help, but specifically now, our friend Rachel Benzion, who's in charge of all our social media activity, our organic social media activity, she drafted a nice kind of job descriptions. And I'm not going to get into all the details. I'm just going to say that, friends, this is a really great opportunity. If you're looking for a role that can really tie you to dissemination, something where you can have responsibility. If you're looking for more creative thing, like creating posts, creating visuals, creating videos, if you're looking for something more administrative, in social media, there are many opportunities. Rachel is there to give training. There's very clear time frames in terms of how long it'll take, a week, if you can see if you're able to do it or not. All you need to do is contact hr@kabyuconnect.com. Just drop an email and say, hey, I want to do something in social media. You'll get all the information and training. And we have our dear Iva. Is Iva here? If we can we spotlight her? Are we doing these things? Do we know how to do these things in this Zoom? There we go. Here's Iva. Iva, look at her. Look how gracious she is. She'll help you. She'll take care of you. If you're not sure if this role fits me or not, she's there to help you from step one, to understand exactly how you can contribute, to link you up with a project manager. And if it doesn't work, that's okay too. She'll help you maybe find something else. In short, she's the address, and she's been doing this job for a while now, and she has big plans on how to improve our HR system. So contact her at hr@kabyuconnect.com. Just drop a line and she'll take it. She'll follow up with you and take it from there. All right, friends. At this point, I have to conclude. I'm actually even 2 minutes after. I hope to be here probably at least once a quarter to give an update and tell you about exciting things that are going on. And for now, I think Chaim has some more info for us.
Thanks, Asaf. And now an update from our Arvut team. Chaim?
Yeah, thank you, Asaf. Very interesting. And very educating, many things I didn't know. There are two things that I wanted to talk about. One of them is a kind of a formal thing. Let's put it this way. During lessons, during events, tens often want to merge with other tens, go into other tens' rooms, be together. Sometimes we don't have enough people in our rooms, so we want to join up with other tens, and it's inspiring, and it's invigorating, and it's fun, and it's great, really. There are situations where this is not working well, okay? I know that you guys like to do it, for example, during lesson preps. This is fine. If it inspires you, go ahead and do it. But during the lesson itself, and I'm talking only about during the lesson, not during YHs, not during meals, not even during lesson preps, only during the lesson itself, it's important that you stick to your own tens room. Or if you don't have enough people in your own room, you go to your general language room, Eng 1, Eng 2, women Eng 1, women Eng 2, etc. Why is this so important? Because when someone asks a question from a room that is not his own, it confuses Rav, and it confuses the people who help him duty and people like that. Okay, there have been several examples from several places in the world and several languages. And we've asked everyone to refrain from that. The management told us explicitly, guys, tell everyone not to do this. Okay? So in order to avoid confusion, in one case, we saw that Rav was simply thrown off. He was in the middle of a line of thought. Everything was going smoothly. And one question that came from the wrong room, and that's it. The lesson was over. Rav was distracted. He couldn't answer the question. And from then on, it just went downhill. So please just stick to your own rooms during the lesson. Okay? Or if you don't have enough people, go to your general room, general language room. Okay? So this is the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing is the lesson that Asaf mentioned earlier. This is really a new thing. I mean, Michael Sanilevich and Avihu started this lesson a while back, but it was on Wednesdays. It was at a bad time. And they moved it specifically so that North and South America could also be part of it. So they moved it from Wednesday to Sunday because Wednesday was impractical for us. It's the middle of the workday. So now it's on Sundays at 4 p.m. Israel time, which is at present 10 a.m. New York time, and do the math for the rest of the time zones. This lesson is something special. Why? For several reasons. First of all, who are Michael Sanilevich and Avihu? They are two of our most veteran students. They are very close to Rav. They've been with him, if not through all, then through most of the twists and turns that Bnei Baruch went through over the years. And they have been his right hand at carrying out all of these maneuvers, operations, enterprises, innovations, call it what you want. So they are really immersed in Bnei Baruch and in Rav's teaching. And that's probably one of the reasons why they were chosen as two of the 6 members of the management. Okay, and it's not just spiritual management; it's also managerial management. It basically manages everything. Why? Because previously, in previous years, Rav managed everything. He had all the responsibilities, managerial and spiritual. So now the management has taken this over. And we have a chance, and he's made them, the management, his successors. So now that Rav doesn't teach the way he used to, the management felt, and I think wisely so, that there is still a need for methodic teaching of articles, of the material of Bala Sulam. So they stepped in, and now they are doing it. So the best thing that we can get, the closest we can get to a lesson from Rav on a complete article is to be in those lessons with Michael Sanilevich and Avihu. Okay, and there's a special benefit to studying a complete article, which is not like studying an excerpt, because you get to go with the flow, with the line of thought of Bala Sulam, which is very different from studying just an excerpt and then focusing on a certain idea. The Freedom, for example, is 20-something pages. There's so many things in it, and one leads to the other. Matan Torah and the Arvut are one article divided into two. You need to study them this way. And we don't do that in Bnei Baruch anymore in the morning lessons. So that's where they come in. So we really recommend it to everyone, but especially to those of us who are newer and didn't get a chance to study with Rav these complete articles in the past. Now we have a chance to do it. So it's very important. And the fifth and last thing that I want to say is the global effect, because we're studying it with a whole world Kli. And that's a different feeling than studying something just with our own teacher, our own language, our own culture. You get to experience the whole world Kli, and that's a very different and special and effective experience. Okay, and I'm overdue. And so really, every Sunday, 4 p.m. Israel time, check out your respective time zone, and highly recommended. Okay, guys. So thanks, and we'll see you probably next Sunday in practical aspects of work in the 10.
Thanks, Hein, and thanks to all of you too. See you next week for a very special YH back at our normal time. Robert?
What goes on here between us? In this life we're all tired to know. What awakens between us? In my heart I can't take it no more. If we made it so far, it's a sign that we're close to our goal. So we march on together and soon we'll discover our soul. Let it all out, leave all your cares, and begin to dissolve in the love in the air. We won't despair, no we won't stop. Keep moving together, we let no one drop. Let it all out, leave all your cares, and begin to dissolve in the love in the air. We won't despair, no we won't stop. We climb up the ladder, we climb to the top. La 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 la. La 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 la. See the world keeps on turning.
L'chaim, North America.
L'chaim.
L'chaim Bre Baruch.
L'chaim Bredith.
L'chaim Havim.
Love you.
Love you.